Okay, welcome back in. We got Coach Mele, who is the special teach coordinator at Mississippi State. I wore the wrong shirt. I have the Mike Leach shirt and I didn't put it on. I'm so sorry. But Coach, thanks for being here.
No, shoot, I appreciate that. Rest in peace to the pirate, man.
Yes. I I have that shirt and I was like, I'm gonna wear it today. And then I panicked and was just rushing around and didn't put it on. Damn it. All right, but yeah. But Coach, I appreciate you being here, especially because everybody's about to get ramped up here with football. How's the summer been for you guys going into a new year? Uh, new head coach and or not new head coach, new position title, I should say. But how's the summer been for you guys going into the fall?
Yeah, it's different. I tell you, without Coach Leach, I've been up to Coach Leach for 11 years, man. So without him, I know a lot less about current events, and my history is dwindling, and food places are evaporating, that kind of stuff. So a lot more football this off season, I would say, man. So it's been good. It's been good, and it's good to have a little familiarity with some of the coaches on staff still kind of taking over, and those guys kind of picking up where they left off. But we got a good core nucleus of guys, hard workers, and they're pretty old as far as how many letters they've earned in this league and that type of thing. So we're excited to see where they go.
Yeah, I didn't know you were with him for 11 years. That was one thing I missed out on was I knew coaches go when saw him for you guys for spring ball at Washington State. And our coaching staff was like, how can we reach out and go down there to Mississippi State? And then all that happened. And I was like, I'm not going no more. No offense. I was like, we ain't going this summer. I was like, that's I wanted to see the air raid in person, but I was like, we ain't going. But yeah, I didn't know you were with him for 11 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a great run, man. I got there to Washington State in 2012, so eight seasons there, and we had a 4 year run of 9, 8, 9, and 11 wins. And it was good times, man. Then we came over here. It was funny. Some of his stories, man. I mean, this is classic, but I mean, remember he got I get these cryptic texts about 2 o'clock in the morning, which is usually a good working hour for him. So I get this text at 2 a.m. Hey, is Mississippi State a good place to go? That kind of thing. And we're just kind of texting back and forth on bullet points on the recruiting area and obviously the SEC and those type of things. And the next, I see radio silence for about 24 hours, and all of a sudden the next day, get another text, hey, go to the office tomorrow and get all the files off the computer and get my stuff out of the desk or whatever. I'm like, well, I guess we're on the move, man. I don't hear from him again for about 2 days, and I'm wondering what's going on. All of a sudden, I see him ringing a cowbell on TV, and that was it, man. Packed our bags,
That's crazy how quickly college football works. I just talked to Coach Nord. He's with the Raging Cajuns. He was like, yeah, when I first worked for Nick Saban, it was like I had 2 days to get down there, so I just threw stuff in a car and left. Like I just threw everything out, threw it in there, and left. And I was like, wow, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could throw my stuff out. Or Coach Henning, he's the O-line coach at Minnesota State. He's like, I was a police officer at first, had a house. I said, I don't want to do this no more. I want to coach college ball. He sold his house, sold his stuff, went up there, became a GA. And he's like, I had to live off that money because GAs were giving me like $800 a month or something. And he was like, that you can't live. And he's like, I had to live off that house money. And I was like, wow, you guys have it rough at the beginning when you get going if you don't know the right people.
Yeah, that's I was at Division II school before I got hooked up with Coach Leach. I was at Wingate University in just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Joe Reich's the head coach there. Awesome guy, man. He's been there for about 20 plus years, I think. Wins a bunch of games. His brother's Frank Reich, the head coach of the Panthers there. But he was awesome. I worked with him for 5 years, and then I got a hold of Leach on just a letter to his P.O. box address in Key West. And he wound up calling me. And then, hey, if you're in Florida, let me know. And then literally 2 weeks later, I'm in Key West doing an island tour, pub crawl, till the rooster started going off at about 5:36 in the morning. So went back down that summer, hung out with him and Hal Mummy, a couple other coaches, and did like a little Key West high school clinic, and toured Jimmy Buffett's studio, and then went to a fishing trip. And I always say it's kind of like the Hangover movie in Key West, And then he got the job at Washington State, and I'm trying to get a hold of him, and I couldn't. And I told my wife, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just going to fly out there. I mean, the guy knows who I am. We've hung out, we've kept up, and see what's cooking. So I flew out like on a Tuesday, the day of his press conference, and Wednesday morning I text him, hey, I'm in the Quality Inn in Pullman. And he's like, I flew in, flew out back in Key West. And I'm like, son of a gun, I'm out there on like a, winter break. And, I got 3 little kids at the time. I'm like, I'm going to chase him back to Key West again. But then he invited me back out about 2 weeks later. And he wound up offering me a job, but the job was half as much money as I was making. So, get
Mhm.
the job offer and call my wife. And I'm like, hey, sell the house, one of the cars, all the furniture. We're heading to Pullman, Washington. She's like, what's the job? I'm like, I don't know. He didn't say actually. So we'll find out when we get there. But yeah, walked in the first day and turned out I was his QB, QC, kind of his assistant, man. So
Yeah, yeah.
landed in a great spot, and that was that first couple of years was really just a master's education and all things Mike Leach and air raid, et cetera, et cetera.
Was it as simple as everybody said it was, like practicing? Because his name's Coach Taylor. He came up with Drew Piscopo up there to watch spring ball, and I had him on here, and I said, "Well, what was one?" Because he watched Hal Mummy at Kentucky even, and so I said, "What was one of the first things you took?" And he goes, "I called my assistant coach. I said, tear up all of our practice plans because we're going to start over because I thought we were simple. We're not simple enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
in everything." He goes, "Whatever, not even just the offense itself. It was just like how you approach it. Like you have to be so simple that the players could just don't even have to think, especially if it's new."
Correct. Yeah, you want to keep those guys fast. You want them to be, reactive instead of them thinking and slowing down and having trying to process a bunch of information. So I think it was one of those things where when you install it, it's the nuts and bolts first, and then there's tweaks on plays, and then there's motions, and maybe some variations. But as you go through, but it's a 3-day install, so you're hitting it over and over again. So it really doesn't matter what kind of coverages get thrown at you or fronts or all that stuff because there's an answer to all of it. If you keep on running the same plays over and over again, you're going to figure out, where you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to sit, where you're supposed to run to. You
Mhm.
do that, then it's almost like it's hard to beat. If you kind of just stick to the blueprint, you'd always get stubborn a little bit, run the ball a little bit, that kind of thing, But you take that, there's going to be a game or two every year where you're going to run for a bunch of yards and throw for a little bit less, but that'll keep it open for the rest of the season for you to light it up for a bunch of yards passing.
Right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Something else because you guys had to go kind of into Washington State and just kind of rebuild it, kind of, and that's where that word culture gets thrown around a little bit. And I don't know if culture is the right word anymore because it gets thrown around way too much. Like, what's the culture? To me, it's the standard and people and character and everything else. And that's kind of the thing. So when I know you got there and was kind of new, but how are you guys going to rebuild that program and then kind of taking that to Mississippi State too? Of we got to build this up to something special, like what's the first steps and how it goes?
Yeah, some of those mantras were, his team goals were be a team, and that was just basically being selfless and playing for each other, being the most excited to play, bringing energy, right? So that not just on game day, but like into the meeting rooms and practice, et cetera. And then
Hmm.
be the best at doing your job. So obviously can't play everybody else's position. We just wanted you to improve yourself every day, go out there and compete against yourself to be the best player you can for the team. And he'd give a lug nut speech every camp about, the car, what's the most important part of the car. And, guys say the engine and the steering wheel. And he would just tell a funny story about back in Wyoming with a buddy of his who, racing some cars and then the wheels fell off because of the lug nut. So everybody on the team's role, you can improve yourself versus the guy in that other team that we're playing to kind of elevate the whole unit. So like that was kind of the core 3 things there. And he was, his team rules were pretty, not a ton of them, but pretty stuck by them pretty strictly with, anything with female, any kind of domestic, violence, anything like that, you're off the team, you cut you. Any kind of banned drugs of any kind like that, then same thing there. And stealing, you can't trust you. We're going to cut you from the team too. So
Hmm.
he was super consistent with all that. And then I always kind of describe it like there was consistency in the inconsistencies. Like, he'd come rolling out to practice late with a green tea in his hand, or he might pull the bus over on the way somewhere to stop to go, talk to the farmer on the side of the road, or I mean, whatever it was. Our guys were prepared for anything that happened because they weren't It wasn't foreign to them. It didn't matter. We show up to the stadium late. We didn't care. Put the ball down. The hotel wasn't great. It doesn't matter. It's not an excuse. Put the ball down. That kind of thing. So there was this just kind of belief that didn't matter what the score was in the game or what the circumstances were. Whoever we were playing, we're gonna play our play it up to our standard was, like you said, or our best effort.
Mm-hmm. Because when COVID happened, I was like, I'm interested in people's culture, and then like this offseason, for some reason, it's clicked with me. Like that word just gets thrown around so much. What does it mean? And everybody has everybody says the same thing, but then people, as I've gone through the summer, I think I've made people think about it. They're like, wait a minute, you're right. Like we all have different ways of saying things. And, like I've been around coaches that a kid walked out of practice and then he wanted to play him in the game. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like they're too worried about winning or they're too worried about looking good. And then I've been around coaches that like, I'm not sacrificing myself for you. Like a coach I worked for before I got there, he was like, Steve, before you got here, we were 4-4. We win the next game, we make the playoffs. My starting quarterback isn't for the bus. He's not there for the bus, and we leave. Well, he shows up and he's like, sorry, I was late. I was getting a haircut. And he was like, nope, the rule is you missed the bus, you're not playing. And they lost. And people were mad and they didn't make the playoffs. He goes, but I don't sacrifice who we are and what I am for you. No offense to the kid, but we don't sacrifice that. And I tell people that story and they go, you're right. Like some coaches don't live by that, and you have to live by that. Even with the coaching staff, like if the coaching staff doesn't act that way, then it's like, okay, we got to move on and do those things. And so I think I've made people think about it. I've seen coaches write it down. They're like, you're right. I have to think about this and who we are. And like, we're dealing with it with the summer right now. If a kid doesn't show up, he shows up the next day, he tries to hop in that first group. We're like, nope, get out. Like,
Yep.
we're not sacrificing anything about who we are.
You learn that as a young coach too. I mean, you're fiery and you're gung ho. And I remember a special teams meeting the one day, and it was one of those things just a little bit too loose. I just kind of said, I'm like, hey, listen, anybody's late for this meeting tomorrow, you're not playing. And sure enough, man, next day, Gabe Marks was the all-time leading receiver in the Pac-12. He was our punt returner, and his car breaks down. And he's late to the meeting and whatever. And I got to stick to it, So I'm trying to figure out ways how I can try and like reverse what I said. Well, this is an exception to the rule here, but really couldn't do it. We threw out a kid, Caleb Fossum, who was a walk-on holder, for us. That was kind of a sure hand catcher. Go to the Rose Bowl. We win a game there against UCLA and against Josh Rosen. And Caleb goes, has like 4 returns for like a bunch of yards, and he goes off to be like a starter next year after that. And we finish up like top 10 in the country on punt return with a guy that never would have happened if we didn't just stick to the standard, right? Or stick to just that commitment that we talked about or whatever, And that was another big one, Coach Leach, too, that, I think the big standard that, he didn't have to say it was effort. A little old lady down the street can give good effort, right? So, like, the only time we would actually, like, things would kind of blow up is if somebody didn't give a good effort, whether, up, down, and guys or, adding some periods to practice or having to redo plays. If they weren't giving good effort, then we were going to make sure you get it out of them,
So you said you were Division II before Division I. What was the early coaching career before you got the jump to college?
I played at a Division III school up in New Jersey. I played at William Patterson University. And then I first got into sales. I got into sales for about a year after I graduated, and just kind of, wasn't real satisfying. I probably made more money that year than I did till, I don't know, a decade later down the road in coaching. But had lunch with my old head coach, and he said, hey, you ought to come around once in a while. And one day turned into 2 days, and next thing you know, I'm quitting my job. And first year I got paid $1,000. That didn't pay for the gas money, but we made it work. I taught at an alternative high school, so it was like one of these last chance deals where, we got police officers down the hall, and I'm throwing kids in sleeper holes and stuff like that. But it was good. It was good. It allowed me to get to the office at pretty decent hour, and it was kind of flexible. So did that for 2 years, and then actually went to high school for a year with that head coach, Larry Arico, and we went to Marist High School in Bayonne, New Jersey. Went to the playoffs there, did a year of that, and then a buddy of mine was at St. Peter's College, who made that run in the tourney about 2 years ago in hoops. So he was there hey, we're just down the road over here, kind of looking for that, that part-time position again. Somebody that can kind of, teach during the day and then get here for practices, meetings, that type of stuff. So that actually worked out. I was just down the road and did that for a year. And then my wife and I were, got married, but talking about having a kid and Jersey real estate and just the financials of it all. We're like, we got to probably have to head south to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
And cold called some guys and got some hits back and wound up landing at Wingate with Coach Reich there for about 5 years. And I guess in 2010, we won the conference that year and went a couple rounds deep in the playoffs, and just a great place, and you kind of get a good taste of the South about how much they love football, and go to a spring game and there's random grandma next to me who's no kids are hers are playing there. She's just watching a football game, hanging out.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, this is a cool place. It's going to be a good time. So we loved it there, and then we Coach Leach from there.
With Coach Leach, what did you always just coach kind of quarterbacks, or did you kind of have to coach different positions as it went along? Did you do special teams with him, or is this like the first go around of like special teams?
Yeah, so I did. I did special teams with William Patterson. I did special teams at the high school.
Yeah.
Not at St. Peter. I did special teams and running backs at Wingate. While I was there. So that was really my expertise with special teams and running backs. Those two positions. So started with Coach Leach as the quarterbacks and his QC. Really just just his kind of his assistant, man, like his guy to run the drills and stuff like that. But a lot of the film breakdowns, a lot of the nights me and him on a Sunday night till 3 a.m. going through the film and getting all his ideas sorted and just kind of spitballing a bunch of stuff. But big old whiteboard with a tweak on a play and then good pizza places and then Viking family trees and then another play with a tweak on it, that kind of stuff. But 2 years in, then he we had an opening of special teams and he promoted me onto the field for that. Did that for 4 seasons there, and then in 2018 we had a bunch of staff leave after a good season, and basically everybody on offense had left. So he kind of pulled me in and just said, hey, like I need to bring you back over to offense, just to have another guy knows the system and can help facilitate all this. And so I went to coach running backs there the last 2 years at Washington State, and then the first 2 years here at Mississippi State, and then last year took back over special teams again.
I'm going to try to make a joke here, and it won't be a good one. Is it boring coaching running backs for Coach Leach because they're not really running? They're just route running. They're not really running the ball.
I used to say it's yards per touch, not yards per rush, man. That was my moniker on that.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. No, I mean all purpose wise, and that's the thing too. That first 2 years here, led America and receiving out of the backfield. 2 different guys did it. You're catching 140 balls. I mean, it's just another way to touch it, another way to spread out the defense and put it in their hands. But a little more pass pro involved than it is about running in certain fronts, for sure. But it's fun. It's fun, and those guys, it markets them for the next level. Obviously, that NFL now has adopted a lot of that scheme where these running backs will be all purpose guys. So. I enjoyed it. But I enjoy special teams, just being able to talk to, a lot more guys and kind of get everybody pulling the same direction. But
yeah, you said running backs. I was like, I have to ask that dumb joke. That's a dad joke. I'm not even a dad yet. I'm like, I got to ask that stupid question there because I remember in high school we ran the power I option, and so like the spread being in shotgun was like forbidden. Like you didn't really do it. Then I got into coach. I was like, well, we're under center. And then I started to branch out, and I was like, I kind of like this shotgun stuff. Because I remember in high school was a Texas Tech game versus Texas and the catch to Michael Crabtree. And I remember that. And I said, if I ever coach, I want to learn this. And so I remember dabbling into air raid. And I'm like, but wait a minute, air raid seems complicated. I don't want to talk to it no more. And then when he first got to Washington State, I remember a news thing, and it said the players were like, well, it's actually pretty easy. It's not very hard. And that's when I went back into it. And then a coach was like, but you don't run the ball. That's got to be boring. I don't want to coach running backs. You're not running the ball. That's boring. And what year was that? I've been 2013 maybe when they said that to me. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And so there's my dad joke for the day.
Yeah, I love a good dad joke, man. I love a good dad joke.
I do.
Lot of all-purpose yards. That's the thing with those things. I mean, I ran the veer in high school. My high school coach, we did that, but there's similarities between option football and the air raid. You know, as funny as that sounds, man. It's just about getting the ball to your playmakers and some deception involved, or you can't, who's getting it on a certain play. There's not like plays you drop for a certain guy. It's going to the guy that is going to have the best opportunity to make a play for you. You know,
Mhm.
so it's there is some of that, multiple options on a play type of thing. There's a good bit of that carries over.
Well, and that's the more I researched because there is no playbook. Obviously, there people claim there is, but I know there really isn't. But I talked to people who have dove into air raid and they said that they're like, well, that running back has to be ready because if stuff's taken, he's getting the ball and he's got to make a play, or they get blitz, get who's getting the ball right away. It's him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's true. They're like, yeah, the receivers got to do their thing, but man, that guy's got to be ready. And then he's got to be ready if the quarterback does check it to a run play and he's got to be ready to go anyway. And so, even if it's just inside zone or wide zone, whatever it was, like they have to be ready. And so I get educated, like kind of like wide zone. When I researched wide zone, I said it was outside zone. They said, no, 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 no. What do you want to do? Outside zone or wide zone? There's a difference. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm stupid. I'm a stupid high school coach. I knows nothing. And you guys are all the smart people.
You're always learning something. That's the thing. I mean, good coaches know that you never know everything. So got to keep an open mind, man. I always agree with that.
Or before I learned what true duo, I was the guy on Twitter saying, like, well, is this inside zone or duo? And trying to piss people off. And then when I finally dove into it, they're like, I tried to make that joke and they were like, no, it's not funny. We got to talk about duo. And I'm like, oh, my bad. Try to make a joke. Let's not be too serious now. Because I drew it up one time. I said, is this duo or inside zone? I drew it like on a playbook thing, put on Twitter, and I was being dead serious. I was like, what do you call it? Some people call it this, some people call it this. That was the most interaction on a tweet I've ever had in my life. And it was people attacking me, like, you're an idiot. Look how the running back's drawn up. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I was young, and I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, that's why you asked the question, right? Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I was like, you'll know when I'm trying to stir the pot. Like, uh, this new threads thing for Instagram, I troll it all the time. I'm like, are we still threading? And that's when I'm trying to stir the pot. And because I was 20, I'm going to be 33 in November, so I'm still young, but I feel old. But I'm like, you guys will know when this was when I was like 24, 25. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you got to help me out here. And
Yeah.
coaches were just attacking me, and then COVID hit, and then it became wing T versus air raid. I loved reading those things, and then I was like, well, why is it air raid versus wing T? Like, what? Like, I don't. That's my little soapbox. I was like, I don't get it. I was like, do you realize that concepts of the air raid came from that stuff, guys? Let's just calm down for a second.
I think at the end of the day, man, you got to have a system or an offense in place that you can hang your hat on, man. Something that don't vary too much from it. You got to be able to practice it and prepare and um, you know kind of stay the course, right? Because it doesn't always go as according to plan. And you get
Right.
in trouble when you try and you try and pick and choose or grab bag stuff and it turns into a mishmash. You got to have an identity, So to me, like I mean, obviously I love the air raid, but shoot, I love option football too, and I love anything that kind of has their own set of rules that guys can kind of hang their hat on.
Well, that's why it'll it'll be exciting to watch you guys because the big question mark is going to be what's it going to do without Coach Leach? And I'm like, well, I guarantee you're going to see air raid stuff mixed with other stuff. And I'm like, you don't tell me, but I'm like, guys, why is this a big question? Like, I guarantee because everybody stole it, everybody's done it. Like, why is this a huge? I get why it's a huge deal, but I'm like, guys, it's going to be okay. Like what we're seeing in the SEC, we're going to see at Mississippi State. Like it's not. I mean, they're all doing it. You know.
Right. Right.
So
You'll see an extra big body out there instead of an extra inside receiver, basically. I mean,
yeah,
those concepts. I mean, you see concepts from every offense floating around everybody else's teams too. I mean, it's a lot of copycat stuff, and we all do it. We all kind of find some stuff that we like, and then put our tweak on it to fit into our schemes.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to be talking to you. I'm a U of I fan, and you guys beat us in the bowl game. That's That's the big question.
Hey, I see. I had my swing your sword shirt too, but I wore this one for you. This is the bowl Relia Quest bowl shirt here. Yeah.
Yeah. If Coach Bielema ever sees this, he's gonna be like, I'm never talking to that guy, because at least it was a good game for my, like, I wanted Illinois to, that was a tough game for me. When I saw it was Mississippi State, I was like, oh, this is a tough one, because I'm a U of I fan and I'm a Mike Leach fan. I was like, oh boy, as long as it's a close game. And then everything happened, but I still was a tough game. I was like, whoever wins, at least it was a
Yeah.
good game. In my, from a fan perspective, I was like, this is a good game. You know, it was.
So it's funny. The funniest one, that one, I could hear his voice, because we get to the end of the game there, and I'm talking to Coach Arnett, our current head coach here now, and defensive coordinator. I'm like, hey, we can go ahead and spot this thing for the if we're planning on kicking a field goal here, which we wind up doing, put in the middle of the field, and he punches through a whatever, 27-yard field goal, whatever it was, 37-yard field goal. But I could hear Coach Leach, what are you doing? He wanted that ball on third down, going in the end zone somewhere to somebody, taking a shot,
Right.
instead of spotting it up. But it's funny, put that one through, and obviously, he always loved to get after the kickers too, which is funny, man. So that guy knocking it through was kind of a little poetic justice there at the end.
Yeah, I was thinking, I saw that bull symbol. I was like, he wore that because I'm in Illinois, man. I already knew. But there's no hate. There's no hate between anybody. I'm like, if Illinois would have won, I might have wore that bull shirt. Who knows? You never know. I will say Illinois was down a couple players, so no excuses, but
we'll take it. We'll take it. Then we'll take it.
Yeah, you'll take it. It's fine. And I know you're probably mad about the Alabama stuff, so I have to explain myself. I'm a coach. I'm an Illinois fan first, and I'm a fan of coaches. I knew I wanted to coach when I was 50, so I'm a fan. So early on in life, I just latched on to Nick Saban for some reason as a kid. Right. I mean, everybody probably does. So wherever he went, I was a fan of him. But when he got to Alabama and started winning, people call me a bandwagoner. So you talk about me trying to piss people off. That's why these things are hanging up. It's to piss people off. Like, I'm a Nick Saban guy. If he left for a different school, I'm following him. This podcast, I'm a fan of every coach I've ever talked to. So I follow every single one of those. I don't have a wall big enough to put all the stuff on. So I know you're mad about the Alabama stuff, but because it's Nick Saban. That is why.
I hear you. And I tell you what, I got a man wall at my house. I can't have a man cave because I got 4 daughters, man. So I'm missing a room. So I got a thing just like you got, with bull rings hanging and jerseys, but it's that's all I have. I got a wall, a man wall.
Well, that's all I got too, because it's like an office, but we both use it. So I'm like, I can't put everything. And so I'm just putting this up. And I was like, at least I've got Ted Lasso stuff where we all can just be okay with it. Like, that's, and I'm a Cubs fan, so I'll never see a World Series again, maybe, but I have to have that up. But, I have to be careful. When I talk Coach Bart Miller, he's the O-line coach at Illinois. When I first talked to him last year on this, I had to take the Alabama stuff down because I was really worried. I was like, take this down, put the Illinois thing up. I'm a little worried. And then after that, he was like, no, put it up. I don't care. I was like, okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's bulletin board material for us. That's all, man. So don't worry about it.
No, I'll root for you guys. It's okay. Like I said, I'm a fan of coaches. So when I'm going to look at Mississippi State and say, I want them to win. Now, when they play Alabama, I'm just going to sit there and enjoy it. I'm going to be like, well, whoever wins. And then I'll just sit there and say, as long as it's a good game. As long as it's a good game. That's all that matters.
There you go.
Because I'm a fan
of NFL, man. Who do you follow in the NFL?
I'm a Bears fan, unfortunately. I do have a Bears thing behind me, I think. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
But I like college football more. It's I think there's more coaching involved. I think there's a lot more variation to what you guys do on defense and offensively and special teams. I just feel like when I watch an NFL game, it's watching the same game over and over. I like NFL. I like watching coaches and very young adults grow and get after it. I really enjoy that part of it. NFL, it's like, yeah, you're coaching, but those players are really smart and they can help coach you too, so I'm doing it. But yeah, I'm a Bears fan, I guess. They struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Justin Fields guy either. That's the other part of it is people get at me for that. They're like, "You're not a Justin Fields fan." I was like, "No, not really."
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Yeah.
Well, I want him to do well, but I'm like, "Hey, I got a year 3." I said, "If he does well this year, fine." I was like, "But you can't call somebody." I'm not a fan of calling them the greatest if they haven't done it. Like, don't let's just pump the brakes, let him develop and grow because he came from Ohio State that does a lot of other things. Once he gets a hold of the pro style stuff, yeah, sure. But that takes, a couple years.
Sure.
I'm just the fan that takes a step back and says, well, let's just hold on for a second before we like pump the brakes here. But I'm excited they're going to move to Arlington. That's only 30 minutes for me instead of going into the freaking city, but that's a whole other. I hate going to the city. I'm from my high school had 300 kids in it. So coming up to the suburbs where there's 3-lane roads, 4-lane roads, traffic, I'm like, I need my country roads. I need my tractor. I need, all that stuff.
See, I was the opposite, man. Growing up, I mean, I guess I lived in a suburb, but I went to school 15 minutes from New York City, and my wife was from up there too, and right by like where the Meadowlands is at.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of grew up there, and then we, North Carolina, a little bit of a culture shock, just from that's the first move we made. Then we were in Pullman, Washington for 8 years, and now here in Starkville, coming on, year season 4 here. So those are real, just true college towns, small town living, and the college is like the town, and everybody's wearing the school colors, and we're all there for the same reason. It's pretty, it's a unique experience.
Yeah, in Illinois, you're going to see Illinois, Northwestern, and North Central is right here in Naperville. They've won a Division III national championship the last couple of years, so you're seeing that all over the place. And yeah, Carbondale's here. Like you got all these Division I AA. So Illinois is just like a melting pot of like all these colleges, and you see it everywhere. But Champaign is like the true college town, for lack of better terms. It's like the true college town, and Bielema's done a good job building that up. But like then you're up here in the suburbs, you kind of just see both. It's very strange in Illinois. In the suburbs, you're going to see Northwestern, you're going to see Illinois. You might see Wisconsin because Wisconsin's right there. You see Michigan people, and you're like, oh, okay, this is just everybody. And I do have a Mississippi State. I have a couple Mississippi State shirts. If I wear that, they go, "What the hell are you wearing?" And I'm like, well. They're like, "Where's that?" I have a Washington State shirt because of Mike Leach, and I'll wear that. And they go, "You're a fan of Washington State?" And I said, again, I was a fan of a coach, so I followed him.
How's the food? You hang your hat on deep dish, or what do you guys like over there?
Deep dish, yeah. I just had it this weekend. Deep dish is the Chicago, like, standard, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they also do thin, but the thing with deep dish is you're going to eat like 1 or 2 pieces, if that, and you're done. It's like, that's it. And then Detroit styles become big, but I've been to New York once, and I was like, well, I gotta try a New York pizza. And I was like, there is a difference. I do like the New York pizza. Like I said, if you want like an actual pizza, deep dish, Chicago. But if you're just like, I want to eat multiple pieces, you're getting the New York. Like that's just what it was.
Yeah, I'll go there. I like a good pizza eating challenge, New York style, man.
Yeah.
Throw me a big extra large pie. I'm gonna try and crush that thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or the bagels in New York are fantastic.
Oh yeah, yep. There's a site now that actually they'll ship you stuff. You can pick like whatever region of the country, certain foods, certain places. They ship it to your house, like in dry ice, within like 2 days, whatever it is, 24 hours. So occasionally I'll look that thing up and just send me some kind of New York pie or some bagels or whatever.
Yeah, because my fiance's family, they live in Brooklyn, so we visited them one time. Went into the city. Well, they had a coffee shop right outside, and I was like, okay, let's see what the difference between Chicago and New York is in Brooklyn. So we go down this coffee shop, and they're like, "What do you want? What do you want? Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up!" And they were just boom, and I'm like, "Oh!" And I wasn't even living in the suburbs. I'm still living in East Charleston, Illinois, Eastern Illinois, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys are like, what do you want? What do you want? Hurry up, hurry up!" And I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh shit, my bad." I'm used to slow going, And then I'm like, "Well, why is the bagel so good?" They go, "It's the water in the dough." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, everybody's on the move, man. Everybody's on the move up there. You better have your plan A and plan B going.
Oh yeah, and then somebody walked us off the sidewalk. We were window Well, I realize the sidewalks are smaller in New York than they are Chicago. Not hugely factual, but in Chicago they have bigger sidewalks. New York, it's very small, and you got more people. So we were window shopping. We're just standing there looking at the windows. Somebody comes walking up, walks right through us, and cursed at us. And I'm like, oh, it's because we're taking our time. We can't be doing that here.
Traffic too. Traffic. I took the girls up there for like a little summer vacation. Whenever we drove into the city, and I had to kind of crack my neck and get ready to take a roller coaster ride. Man, all of a sudden I'm white knuckling it. There's no more turn signals are viable anymore, and then the brakes are used less often as well. So you just fly around. You fly around trying to find parking spots, and it's crazy, man. Now it's there's no traffic at all, man. Really.
I was gonna say you could take your time now. Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
10 miles. We'll get there in 8 minutes. It's okay.
Yep.
That was the other thing. When we drove to Brooklyn, there was cars with like the extended bumper protectors because they knew they were going to be bumping into people. And I even said that. I go, why do they have the race car thing bumpers on them? And her aunt's like, because you are going to bump into people. It's just going to happen. And I'm like, oh, and you're right. You're this close. And getting off the bridge into the city was just like, and you got two of them, the bottom and the top. And you're just like, I'm like, yeah, this is a different world than even Chicago. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a fun place to go visit. Be interesting to live there anyway.
Oh yeah, I love visiting it. I got to see, went to the new Freedom Tower um where we went all over. The scary thing was that was 2016 when there was like a riot happening, and I can't remember what happened. We got off the subway to go see like a Beatles impersonator play, and we got off the subway, and that's when it was all surrounded. You saw New York police officers, and I was like, we should walk that way. I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna walk that way. We put in
walk into a mob of folks, what the heck's going on there. Yeah, that's a good advice by you.
Oh yeah, because we got off the subway and we were like, what's going on? And then we got up and there was just thousands of people and police officers and vans and everything, and they're yelling at the police officers. And I'm not getting political, but it was just a scary moment, even in like 2016 or 15, I don't remember. And I'm like, yeah, I know the map and the aunt said to go this way. Let's go that way, because if we just look at somebody the wrong way, something bad's going to happen. But it was more positive. Times Square was awesome. All that stuff's awesome just to visit and be around it. It's an amazing city. Lots of cool things, but I just don't know if I could live there. Like the people that live there, God bless you. Like I couldn't do
it. Yeah, that's accurate. That's an accurate assessment of the Big Apple for sure.
I was going to say, if you're around from that area, Starkville in Mississippi State's got to be like you don't even know what to do. You're like, it's so easy going and slow. And
well, that's what I got the teenage daughter, and she's asking about malls and stuff like that. I'm like, there's no malls around here. You got to hop in a car, go a couple hours, find yourself a mall. That type of thing.
Do kids even hang out at the mall? Kids hang out at the mall still?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't had one now, and it's going on 11, 12 years, man, in town. So I'm not sure it used to be the deal back in the day. I used to go in the mall, catch a movie, and then food court, and do all that stuff. So that was fun. That's why when Stranger Things came out, man, they had the mall food court and all that. Some good nostalgia there on that show.
Oh yeah, we just had this conversation with people. We were like, oh yeah, you used to go hang out at the mall and stuff like that. Because there's a mall here, but it's not, whatever. But in the suburbs, they have a couple big malls, but still, it's like I hear my football players and I'm asking what they're going to do, and I don't remember what they said. Like they're like, what did you do? I'm like, we would go to the mall, walk around, blah blah, and they look at me like I'm crazy. Like women just walk around at the mall, and I'm like, oh, that's why you went to the mall. Come on.
I can teach you guys everything, man. Not just football. I got to teach you about life. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to. You're like, well, that's why you went to the mall. And the mall had a movie theater, and then you had the food court, and you had different stores. I said Hollister was big, Abercrombie and Fitch. Come on now. And they're like, what? Like, what's that?
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're going to rip off about 45 names of video games that we were playing Pac-Man, and these guys, headsets on, and they're live streaming with somebody in a different country and the whole thing. You know?
Or I don't even know what else they do. They do something else too. Or the music they listen to. They're like, don't you know him? And I was like, I don't even know what you just said. Like, we back up a second. They're like, you don't know this rapper or this hip hop? And I'm like, no. And the music they play, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And they're like, oh, come on, man. Like, you don't know? And I'm like, no.
So you got to fully embrace the going back to the dad jokes. You know, once you hit about 40, man, I fully embraced just being like the old guy. Man, I'm gonna have on some 80s, classic rock, or just stuff that's totally out of date or not with the times. I'm just gonna own it, man. I can't keep up anymore.
I tell them that too. They have a speaker in the team room. We'll let them listen to it before we talk before a game. And the stuff they're listening to, I'm like, that's what gets you guys pumped up. I was like, I got AC/DC for you. I could find other 90s stuff that we can put in there. And because I guess I'm not old, but I am. I'm like, I can give you, like, I know I was born in 1990. I'm like, I still understand. And like, I was like, guys, we walked out to Hell's Bells for God's sake. Like, don't you know what that is? Or
History lesson. Gotta give him a history lesson.
we do all the time. And then I'm like, guys, like, they want to bring their phones out. I'm like, guys, I have my phone too, but it's for timer to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm like, we had flip phones. Like, the rules keep the phone in your locker, and we were like, okay, because you didn't text, you didn't do any of that dumb stuff. And like, they're like, well, didn't you do dumb stuff in high school? I'm like, yeah, but we didn't have cameras. That's why.
Yeah. If they did, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. We'd be. I don't know what job we have, but wouldn't be good.
I know. I was like, guys, you film yourself in the bathrooms. First of all, it's weird. Second of all, we would have been in trouble, and we would not be coaching. We would have been in detention and failed school. And yeah, that's my other soapbox. I'm like, you guys and these don't worry. I'm all about social media because I think it's positive. I'm all about whatever. I run our social media page. I'm taking pictures for the football thing. I'm like, it's great, but the stuff you guys use it for is stupid. You're doing it to whatever.
Yep, that's a fact. That's a fact.
To slowly wrap it up before I get off topic even more, because that's what I'm good at, is my mind hops all over the place. With special teams, especially at the college level, when you're recruiting or when you have your roster, how do you look to get the right players in the right positions? Like, do you guys like tight ends, linebackers? Are guys just special teams guys? Like, how does that conversation go with? Because I know in high school it's either your best player or you're getting a sophomore in there. College, I know, is a whole different thing. So how do you go about piecing that together?
Yeah, it's interesting. You find the right combination of starters and then the backup players, those core special teams guys. That kind of gets you to your number. But Coach Arnett's great with that too. Just as far as using whatever players we need to use to put the best guys on the field. For me, I always try and just from like the team aspect of it. If I can get every starter, obviously knock a couple of the O linemen out and a couple of D linemen type of thing. Like if you can get, you should be able to get about 4 to 5 starters per big 4 unit. Right. And that kind of covers your one deep on offense and defense, So now you're only filling another, 5 spots when you include the specialist as the 11th guy. But those next 5 spots, you're probably looking at, 4 backup players, 4 twos, guys that are going to be playing significantly that we're trying to develop to become a starter and help them get those reps in. And then lastly, you have that kind of core nucleus of guys that they're on the bus just to, they're a big 4 special team guy, or they're just a young guy that's a walk-on guy, or whoever that may be, to kind of fill that last role or two. But that's their whole world, especially from high school to college, the amount of snaps that they get. I mean, they're going to log in, 25, 30 snaps in a game, on a Saturday if they're playing on those big 4 units. I mean, that's, you're a significant contributor to the outcome of that football game if you're one of those guys, So always just kind of start with those starters and just see like what their best unit is, and I'm not kind of a dictator either. I mean, I'm going to find out what they like playing, because that's the best result you'll get, right? I mean, we draw plays on offense or defense and say this is a great play, but if the player's not any good at it, then it's not a great play,
Right.
So same thing goes here. If we got Emmanuel Forbes, first round draft pick for us last year, it's just Forbes, what do you like best of those four units? You want to be a jammer, you want to be a gunner, you want to be on kickoff, and just kind of rank those three for me real quick. And he does that, and then you plug him in there. And obviously big games you can always move somebody around or throw them out there for a rep here or there. But that's kind of the starting point, I would say, for me is, put our best players in their best positions, and then we start building around them. So then you go to the backup corner. Now he becomes the jammer. He's the starting jammer, and that's his world. And he's also on kickoff, and he's on two units. Those, to me, after the ones, those other guys got to be probably playing on two units at least. Starting on two units for us,
Right.
and then kind of working down from there. But we had a solid probably three guys last year that didn't play significant snaps on one side of the ball or the other, but logged in close to 200 special teams reps, that kind of thing.
Right.
And those guys, you love those guys. You got to embrace those guys because they're really, football's all about just being selfless, great team sport, and they're doing everything they can to help that team win football games.
Right. And it's kind of, special teams can get neglected a little bit too. Maybe not college, but I know in high school it does because, like I just said, you're going to play your starters, take it that type of level, or you're playing sophomores that don't play varsity ball, and that's their way to like, hey, here's your introduction to varsity ball because that other team's probably going to put their starting running back there, the guy they rotate in to return the ball. Here you go. Here's your introduction to varsity, and now this is the level you got to get to, and stuff like that. So like we tried to figure out a way to make special teams fun because people look at special teams as a punishment. They're like, I'm on special teams. So like we're talking about, like the goal stickers that they get on their helmet. What if we just make every sticker only special teams? Like offense and defense, whatever. But what if it's just special teams? Like, hey, you didn't allow a return past 15 yards in this game, so you get two stickers. Hey, you caused a fumble, you get this sticker. And I think that might help them say special teams, and then they'll realize how important it is. Or like, oh, you missed the extra point, we lost the game by one. Or like you missed the extra point, and then we come down, and if we would have had that extra point, we win the game, or whatever it is. You missed the field goal, and how more important that is. That's an idea we're taking because we're about to have our dead week next week, and then we'll go into our season. And so we're trying to figure out how to make special teams because we focus a lot on offense and defense, but like if we can make special teams fun and making them earn stuff, I think that will help show how important it really is.
Yeah, we have we do like a whole theme, man, with ours, but game awards, and guys get, grenades for like, big blocks or big tackles and, dog tags for the guy who's the player of the week. And these guys will fight over t-shirts. They love t-shirts,
I know.
Different logos and kind of sayings on the t-shirts and, wristbands. They got those, but just something that can kind of be a unified, again, just like offense and defense, you want to have something they can hang their hat on, some kind of, core values or belief in what you're doing that they can all kind of always revert back to, man. So and then I'd say from high school to college, hey man, if you're not on special teams when you get to college, like you're in jeopardy of not making the bus, right? Unless you're a 1-1, you're not on the bus, man. So you're not going to play. So you better figure it out quick. And then obviously from college to the NFL, it's even more magnified. I mean, that 53-man roster. I mean, if you're not the first round draft pick guy, I mean, you're playing on special teams. So
right.
And some of these guys, we do a thing every year on how much a certain unit's getting paid in the NFL. Whatever the Chiefs, Chiefs punt team, they won the Super Bowl, so we break them down and how much the left tackle on punts making, how much the gunner is making. And we got a guy from Mississippi State, JT Gray. It's been in the league now for several years, but he is, he's making thousands of dollars, double digits per tackle on special teams.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's huge. It's a huge thing. Like you said, it gets neglected until something wrong happens. But you have a direct impact on winning and losing, week in and week out for sure.
Yeah, because when I was at Charleston High School by Eastern, we struggled a little bit on offense, but our punt team did not give up. The longest run we gave up all year. We no touchdowns all year. We gave up only 20-yard was the longest. And I'm like, take pride in that. And I think as the year went on, they actually did because we had starters out there too. So they took some pride in that. But backup tight ends were on there and they were like, look, I ran all the way down the field, made the tackle. And then guess what? I found a way to get them in as a tight end. Like, hey, you know what? This guy needs a break. Now you're in. And so that's why this new school, I'm out with the new head coach. I've said that the sticker idea came from me. I'm like, let's make it fun. Let's make it competitive. And show them how important it is, and find film from the past saying, if we would have done this, because game's about inches, if we would have done this, or this, or big momentum swing last year, we finally score. We're down by like 2 scores. We score. We're down by 1. If we just hold them on this kickoff into halftime, well, guess what? They returned it all the way to the 20 and scored again. So we're like, see, like how important this is. And so get the kids to think about it, and not think of it as a punishment too. Like, and that's a good point. I could tell kids, hey, you're not really getting scholarships right now, but if you show some things on special teams, maybe a college will find you and say, hey, you can get on special teams, earn some scholarship money, and then find your way to doing something else.
Yep, 100%, man. That's our last 3 games of the year for us last year. We're down the stretch. Auburn, we returned a kick for a touchdown against Auburn, and then we have to. They take the lead. We have to kick a field goal to send it to overtime. They iced us twice. Guy kicks 3 field goals in a row to send it to overtime. We wound up winning in overtime. Go to the Egg Bowl. We had a good game on special teams there, but again, go ahead field goal in the 4th. Hands team recovered the ball at the end. Our punter, he had 3 balls inside the 20, netted 50 yards of punt. I mean, these things all matter. Obviously, in the Illinois bowl game, I mean, it comes down to a kick at the end there. They made their kicks, we made our kicks. It was just one of those things that, again, one play can mean the difference. But you got to get those guys. They take pride in it. That's the thing. They got to take pride in it and understand the responsibility that they have, to their teammates and all that. So, it starts at the top, and that's the thing too. So you guys coaches got to be able to be all bought in. I'm lucky here. Our head coach, Coach Arnett's that way, and then I carry that message down to our assistants, and they do that to the players, and everybody's on board. So got to have that one. Everybody's got to be on the same page on that for sure.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that field goal again for Illinois. It makes me feel really good. Appreciate that.
Yeah, just slip that one in there.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you being on here. It was a lot of fun talking to you. I appreciate your time. I do wish good luck to Mississippi State. Just don't play Illinois in another bowl game, and I'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, man. That's what we're on to the next.
No, but good luck.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the time.
Yep, thank you.